when you try to build on sound, it gets digitized. When you can always make it soft.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
That's what she said. I don't know. Was that inappropriate?
It's like my perspective on comedy. Like, I like to think about most jokes as like just a block of marble, and it's our job to chip away at it.
Right,
That's why Aaron always tells everyone that I'm Mr. Cut the Fat, but it's like, yeah, I'm just taking off extra.
Right.
Like, but, and I learned this like last week, really. It's also okay to add on. Like, if I always give everyone advice. I'm like, cut words, bro, cut words.
Right.
But it's like, it is okay to add on, because I've been doing that with that one joke that I don't necessarily want to burn the whole thing. But yeah, I've been just adding to it, and it really is, it's growing. So I was wrong.
I don't think. See, I guess I was the opposite. So you started doing the things that I was doing, and I started doing the things you were doing. Like, the cut the fat thing is super important for me because I'm so long-winded that it just helped me. So
I think that applies though once you have the basics of the joke. But at the beginning, I think it's your job just to, who cares about words? Let's just keep pulling tags until.
Oh, absolutely.
And then, because if you just got a joke that's like 2 minutes and it's okay, you're not going to trim the fat. You want to make it fat, you know what I mean? Until you get to the really good USDA, choice parts, and then you get the fat out.
Let's stay on this culinary metaphor here, and I'm gonna say, like, I like to treat my jokes like I'm distilling alcohol. Like, I just try to boil every impurity out of it until I get to all that's necessary to fuck people up.
And then the end product is like dick.
Yeah. It's a fucking 12-second dick joke.
It's a dick joke. 3 years of work.
It's highly flammable, and that shit's fire. But I made 12 seconds work, in like 3.5 years. So, guys, it's okay to add. I'm wrong. It's okay. Yeah. This is me going on record saying that I can be wrong once in a while, but it's probably not going to happen for the rest of the year, so we're good. That's fine.
You used it up.
I got it out of the way.
Are we recording right now?
We are recording. Welcome to an episode of the Buddycast. We have our good friend, local funny man, all in green, Pickle Rick looking, Mr. Hector Lara.
Woo-hoo.
Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm George Ferrito, and across of me is
Aaron Chase,
sitting in his fucking white ass, bowling ass, t-shirt ass, Killmonger. He looks like Killmonger just got back from bowling on Friday, but like got a 300.
Aaron could be like the sexiest man anywhere south of the United States border, like all Central and South America. That outfit is just perfect.
Yeah, it's bowling shirt or vacation shirt.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Like, picture him like in one of those beach bungalow things, like handing out alcohol and hitting all the visiting women, white women.
And then
white
his
women?
boss catches him hanging out in the bungalow, and they're like, "Dude, get back to work. What are you doing?
This whole podcast could just be a description of me if we needed it to be.
Can't just take a nap on the job, sir."
Aaron Chase, is that Bungalow Man? Yeah. Does he still work there? We're going to the Bahamas later.
I want to ask. I don't know the answer to this question. Where are you from?
In terms of where I was born,
where are you born? Where
makeup.
are you raised? What region?
It's funny. Like, everyone right now, when they ask me, "Hey, where do you live?" I always start out with, for some reason, this is natural. It's right now I live in Riverside. Like, there's this expectation that one day I'm going to be out of Riverside, but once you come to Riverside, you don't leave. This is like the black hole of, like, you just stay here. Like, I was born in LA, then we just migrated east, like, then pretty much grew up in West Covina. And that's San Gabriel Valley for pretty much my adult years, and then went out with a girl, and then we had a baby, and then just been here ever since. So
okay. So how long have you been in the?
About 10 years now. 10 years.
Shit.
Yeah.
I've been in California for 10 years. So
really,
yeah. I think 10 years. What is it? 2019. Yeah, I think I left in 2009.
You're from Hawaii, right?
Hawaii. Yep. And people are always like, "Well, it must be nice." Like, I fucking chose it. They're like, "Why would you leave?" It's because that's the only place I've been. I was just telling my girlfriend, like, one of my happiest memories is like the first time I left the islands and came to the mainland. The first time I saw snow, and the first time I went to Disneyland, and that was all in the same weekend.
Wow.
Like, So that's why I left. Like, I was missing out on so much.
But you saw all of that, and it's been downhill from there. Pretty much.
What are you talking about? Riverside's beautiful, okay? When I carry the equipment to my car, I only look over my shoulder like twice. It's not that bad.
But you know what? It's funny, like, going back to the first point, you, like, coming from West Covina, like, you always think of Riverside so far, you don't know anything about it. But you come out here, it has everything. And, like, it's so dope. I don't want to leave Riverside. Like, it's so perfect. You shoot to the border, an hour and 40 minutes. You go up north to Vegas or anything local. Everything's just like an extra 30 minutes. But it's cool. Like, what isn't nowadays in traffic? But, yeah, I'm happy to be here. So
I feel like that's how the people from the high desert are. You know, they always try to convince you. They're like, no, dude, trust me. Victorville has everything. You can do everything. It's cheaper to live out here. But you know that they're lying. I feel like we're still lying to ourselves.
You think so?
Like maybe it's Stockholm syndrome. Like, I fucking love it here.
Yeah. But, you know, when you're saying how we're talking about where we're from, do you guys ever drive somewhere? Like, you'll be, I don't know, you could be out of the state or just some rural area, or just thinking about, I don't know, something happening around the world. Like, we're so lucky that we were born where we were born. Like, imagine our lives, like, if we were born, like, in just
Kenya.
even, you know what I mean? Like, what would be our prospect? What would George Ferrito be? What would Aaron Chase be? You know what I mean? Like, what would be the circumstances? What would our lives be? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, it's interesting. Sometimes you sit there driving or just looking at it and like, wow, we're actually really, 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 like the lottery of lottery. Like, if we had 3 drawings in a row and we won them all, that's kind of our lives. So, anyways, I don't want to bring us down. Anyways, let's talk about something
No,
funny.
we always like bringing ourselves down. It's great. I don't know. I think about that a lot, mostly because I feel like I'm just 2 bad choices away from being homeless. You know, I think the grind is real and the streets are way closer than I like to admit. Like let's say 2 big things happen in my life. I now have no money and nowhere to live. Now I'm homeless. Like, that's not far. And so I do like to drive around and be like, I'm so lucky. I'm so fucking lucky that I'm not pissing in the same pants right now.
That's most of America, though.
It's
just it is. People working on.
And that's why we have anxiety, I think. It's fucking.
Is that the source of it?
Yeah.
Like, if we had money, we wouldn't have anxiety?
No, if we had, I guess, less pressure on ourselves, we would have it. Because I feel like it's those pressures, right? You want to buy shit. You want new shit. You don't want old shit.
I you know what? I could care less about things. Like, look at the way I dress. Like,
Same.
You know, I could care less about the car I drive or what I'm wearing, but I think it's the like you said, the internal pressures that you put on yourself to what, you know, I mean, I'm at, 40 plus, and it's not important as far as the bling, you know, what am I doing with life? Because you get to a point where you're like, you can die at any moment. That's one of the things that kind of pushed me finally into comedy, because I've been wanting to do stand-up for like 15 years.
Jesus. How old were you when you were first like, all right, I want to tell jokes on stage?
You know what? Growing up, I always watched stand-up. My mom was always kind of funny in a weird way. Like, she was just crazy weird and always cracking jokes. But since we were little, we would always, Friday night, Saturday night, there was stand-up on Channel 11, and we'd just watch it. And it was just part of it. Like, we just get used to it. But it was never a thing that we thought like, oh, it must take something else or someone to know things to get into that. And I'm sure like a lot of people have had that experience until finally, like, no, and then you want to do it, but then, you know, you have to go to the open mic and stuff. And I just kept kicking that can down the road. Like, eventually. But
What was the moment?
it was just, I talked about it so much, and I actually had mentioned it to a friend, and we're a while back, and then he texts me this link. Is like, oh, check out my friend, he's doing stand-up. So he sent me his YouTube. So I looked it up on YouTube, and then, you know, to the right of YouTube, that's the devil right there. Like, the other videos. Well,
Trending. Related videos,
anything.
is that what it is?
It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be related. You're going to click on it, right? And then I saw, it said, it's students of stand-up. I'm like, what is this? And then I checked it out and looked at it online, and it's in Orange County. They're doing sign-ups. It's a 6-week course, and it ends with a show. And immediately I'm like, that's how I'm going to come through the door. Like, it's been so long, me saying that I'm going to go to a mic, and I just don't do it just because you're either nervous or whatever. I said, this is going to force me. And I kind of felt a little like I was cheating, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people that just, hey, I went to a mic and I just did it. So I kind of felt weird. I even called my friend Sebastian, and I'm like, hey, dude, I just felt, I don't know, a little this guilt thing, like I'm not doing it right. But he's like, no, dude, whatever gets you through. And his words were encouraging because it wasn't like, man, no, you got to do it this way. No, it's like whatever gets you through it, you have to get through that door.
Did you feel like a commissioned lieutenant? You know, like those lieutenants that go to college before they enlist into the Army, and once they get in, they're straight fucking lieutenant, and everyone below them like, dude, you didn't do shit for that. Yeah. Fuck you.
It kind of felt like I was entering that way, and but now I realize it doesn't, because that first door, I was making it the biggest thing, like that was the end all be all, and then finally you notice that is just step one. It's like you're still at go. There's just you finally just entered the world, and it's just Alice in Wonderland world. You know what I mean? It's just so. But it's so now anyone that I've run into that's, hey, I'm thinking about, like, do it now. Like, it doesn't matter. Just do it, and then just go through that door. Don't be like me. Don't wait, because then you'll regret not doing it. But then for a while there, that loss of time was affecting me. Like, I was thinking about it, and you know how sometimes you get into these self-doubt or depression moments, right? Just because.
No,
I'm sorry. There's this thing that happens.
George is always happy.
Yeah. Those are the
as long as there's coffee in front of me, I think I'm a pretty pleasant person.
You're pleasant always. But it was like I was talking to Kevin Davis outside of Worthington even just a few weeks ago, and he's like, it doesn't, don't think like that. He's like, you wouldn't have been where you're at now. Like life wouldn't have turned out. You maybe would have been. Probably I can't even talk right now. It's not even night. You would have probably fizzled out or burnt out of it.
Yeah.
You don't know, and it's true. We don't know what our path would have been. So I'm grateful where I'm at. I probably wouldn't have met you guys. I probably would have met all the guys people that have met in in the area.
Speaking of that, when did you first hit a buddy system? Do you remember? I don't remember. When did you first?
So when I first started, so the show for that was July 27th, 2017.
Jesus. Okay.
Jesus, do you have it like tattooed on your cock or something?
No, it's just because there's 7, so it's easy. And it's inside of a cheek, And then after that, though, there was a couple of guys, Mike Hughes, guy Mario Hirose, that were also in that class, and hey, let's hit mics. And then I think one of the first ones was The Hideaway. And then, but it was cool. We didn't know any better, and it was packed, and it was just.
Is it before we got shut down?
Before.
Okay.
Before. And then it was, but then from that point forward for like 9 months, I was inconsistent in terms of I'd go to a mic once a week, once every 3 weeks, once a month. You probably didn't see me for a while. And then it wasn't
every time I don't, I just assume everyone's at another mic.
Yeah. No,
he's probably in the OC. Where's Nick Lanny? Probably in LA. I don't know. Whatever.
Now, right? Now you think like, oh, they're probably somewhere else. No, but because I had just bad habits. I mean, I'm still trying to get rid of bad habits so that I can, move forward with this. But it was, The Hideaway was my very first one.
Like you're shooting up smack bad habits or like stage
I don't even have
habits?
anything, just personal bad habits.
Okay.
Like even from high school, I go back and I had the worst work ethic in terms. I was just
same.
It was just lazy and not one of those just like driven. You hear people like, oh, I'm driven, and nope, I'm not. It's just the opposite. And because of that, it took me about 9 months just to figure out like, no, this isn't just going to happen if I go once every 2-3 weeks. And then that's when I started trying to grind a little bit, and then just you see that the more you grind, the more that you need to grind, and the more writing you need to do. And then it's like, oh my God, this is almost like Mission Impossible, but at the same time so enjoyable. So so that's kind of.
You ever feel like you're chasing the dragon?
Yeah. I mean, it's but at the same time you're taming it at the same time because you're trying to figure out what you want and who you are. So at the same time you're taming as you're chasing, and so I think that's where I am in my process. And it's, I try to tell other comics that I talk to is like, hey, you have to talk to other people. You have to go out to different mics. You have to just go meet people just because of the fact that you'll talk to someone, you get their perspective, you get the insight, you'll see their experience, what they're going through. You'll see that you're not so isolated yourself. They're going through the same thing, and they've been in it 2-3 years, 4 years, whatever. And not that it makes you feel better because they're in the same spot, just because it's a shared process. So what you're going through is the same as somebody else is going through, is the same as the bigs have gone through.
Mm-hmm.
So the emotions that you feel, the isolation, I say isolation a lot just because it's just, I don't know if people outside of comedy understand what comics go through. Obviously people, artists and musicians, I mean, everybody has their own processes, but it just can beat you down, and this self-doubt. I mean, we just had the show at the Ice House, and
which was great, by the way. If you guys didn't go to that show, you missed the fuck out. So whatever.
But there was this extra, and I appreciate you supporting that. But there was this pressure. There was this extra pressure. For me, it was first time at the Ice House. So, it was the first comedy club that I ever been to. Number 2, it's a packed house, so that you want to perform well. I had friends there. But more importantly, I had my peers there. I had Aaron there, Joe Beltran, Frankie Oy. Like, we've been, and for those that don't know, these are comics that are around the circuit, and we see each other at least 2-3 times a week. So whenever you see your colleagues putting in the time, or you see them grinding it out, and by grinding it means just putting in the work and showing up and performing, trying to work out their craft. And when you see everybody working hard day in, day out, that's inspiring. But then when it's showtime, we also, man, I can't let these guys down. Like, I can't fail. And it was just a lot of pressure. And I know, Aaron, you were feeling it, especially when there was that moment where you were going to be called up, and it's like, oh no, now somebody else.
Then Bob went up.
I was standing behind you, Aaron.
Hot fire from Bob.
Did you feel my
super hot fire?
I can't just. It's like on an aborted launch for a rocket. Have you ever seen that? Like, it's just like they're firing up, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, we're aborting launch, and it was just this. But you can see the emotion, like because
there's no release for that emotion. Yeah,
and it's just like
it just bubbles up.
Oh, we all felt it.
Really upset.
You went outside. You went back outside just to kind of
Yeah.
But there was but there's a lot of pressure there, and then I forgot my point now.
Well, it seems like community is a big part for you.
It is, because I grew. Well, I'm a real estate. I'm a realtor. I have been for almost 20 years now. But I didn't start off in a company where there's like, I'm at that big office and everybody's going after it. I actually worked alone, so I've been out of the house, and I'm like, oh, that's convenient. Me taking the easy route again, and it just was it was like the worst decision, because I fell into my bad habits, and I constantly compare myself to, I don't know if you guys see Lord of the Rings, the second one, and the king where he's been like, his mind has been poisoned.
What's the second? The Two Towers? That's the second one, right? Two Towers?
I think there's a Two Towers.
Or Return of the King?
Two Towers.
Okay.
I think there's Two Towers. Yeah, I think it's a Two Towers.
Lord of the Rings 9/11. Cool. What a fucking terrible title. What are we going to call it? The Twin Towers. Oh, we can't call it that. It's a little on the nose, don't you think? How about the Two Towers? Yeah, that's better. Let's fucking...
The Fall of the Twin Towers.
Fucking...
That's so bad.
Rude. Sorry, I just realized that it was titled that. Fucking dumb.
I gotta go back and watch it. Everybody.
Anyway, the king in his poisonous mind.
Well, yeah, like he was like the king of one of the realms, and he's just been poisoned, and until the guys get there, and they're like, they get rid of the dude that's been poisoning his mind, and here he comes again. So I think the thing that I've been fighting this whole time still is, like, I feel like my old habits, my demons, I guess, I'm trying to get rid of those, so that I can,
like, laziness and
the laziness, the work ethic.
I think the what was it, the fifth deadly sin? So sloth, I think, is what it is, right?
I probably have 10. If
10?
there's
10 out of the 7,
I have 10.
You fucking overachiever.
Yeah. So that's been my process lately, but yeah, that's how I started. So you said, I forgot the question.
It was about community. It seems like when you said you don't want to disappoint your peers, that's something that's unique to stand-up comedians from what I've seen, in that we're really selfish. Like, there's a really selfish art form. Mm-hmm. So the idea that you're like, you want to impress the crowd, you want to do well for yourself, but you also want your peers to be like, wow, good job.
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't want my peers to roast me after the set. I'm just trying to skate by on a level of mediocrity where they're like, "Aight, whatever, dude."
I think if your peers roast you, I think that's a respect. And I think it was just not too recently at the Getaway. Carlos Patino was up there, and I thought this was a great moment. He goes up there, and then he does a couple of jokes that don't hit. Then I'll say rape. He does a couple of rape jokes, and they don't hit, and he tries it again, and then nothing, right? So he just goes down with his head down, and after that, we're hanging out afterwards. And then it was just like a moment we're just sitting there. I'm like, hey, Carlos, why don't you say another rape joke for us? And it was just like this like release of tension kind of thing. But I think it was funny to if you can roast your peers like that, I think it's like with any circle of friends, right? The moment you start making fun of each other, it's like this bonding thing. It's like this connection thing that you're doing. And I think, and I like that. And the fact that everyone laughed, everybody was just having a good time with it and not being serious about it. I think it says something about the connection. And I'm big with community in a sense because I haven't had that at all in terms of, I've just been isolated for 20 years, let's say. So now, and then like impressing the peers is, I think I don't want to let people down in the sense where, hey man, he's also putting in work. And look, these are the results versus like, man, if I would have just blown up there and just bombed, I think I don't know. I can't go back to the office on Monday morning and be like, hey guys, what's up? You know? Mm-hmm. And it was kind of that effect. I felt like I needed to at least hold my own. So it seems like we're all trying to raise the bar and have like a specific standard. I mean, you see it in other places and their comedy is really high level. And I just want to help raise the bar instead of like, hey, oh, that's an IU comic.
Yeah, I want everyone to agree to stop writing material for a week because I'm just trying to keep up and it's getting exhausting. Like, can we all just take a week off, fucking Labor Day this shit, so we can chill for like the next mic, so I can just hang out? Because I'm lazy too. I don't like writing and stuff. I just like doing it. I think people don't realize how much of a fraternity comedy is. Like, you know, I would consider open mics almost a form of emotional hazing if you're doing comedy. And it's like when you see another comic or someone else that you consider a comic, you're like, oh, you went through that same shitty fucking fire that I did. Like we can connect on that. And I call it a fraternity because it's a bunch of dudes and a couple of chicks, really. Let's be honest. And I don't know. It's weird that people don't understand what comedy is still, especially since Netflix, like, stand-up specials come out. Dave Chappelle did his thing in the belly room. Like, it's very accessible in the sense of, like, you know, when we were talking about when someone wants to do open comedy, like, just do it. It's people don't realize how low the bar of entry is for comedy. If you can write your name, you can do comedy. Right. And people don't realize it. They don't realize how close we all are. So, like, if you were to say something to Carlos while he was bombing, while he was on stage, most of us would be like, that's funny, you know? Mm-hmm. But if someone from the audience said the same thing, because they don't have that connection, they don't understand that, like, that's not okay. There's still fucking people who are like, I was helping, right? It was a good show, right? I was helping you.
That lady on Tuesday.
Like, how? Oh, I'm going to blow my brains out in front of one of those people. Just
and then also you have the contrast about it where someone says something, you know, they're on stage that it resonates with them in a bad way. Like, okay, they'll laugh at, you know, fat people. The Spanish lady or others. You have other people, right, for other things. But as soon as you speak on a topic that's personal to them, all of a sudden that's out of bounds. And I don't like that. And, yeah, you either laugh at everything or don't show up. Like, you have to understand it's comedy. It's just comedy. And I think it's just weird to me where people go to a show and get offended. Like,
I would say it's if you go to a paid show, if you're in a club, like if someone got offended at the Ice House, I would be like, that's ridiculous. Because you paid to be, you know, the context in which we are doing this. Right. At the Getaway with the Spanish girl, first off, I do think she's ridiculous. She's a hypocrite. Mm-hmm. But I think she has it's weird. Like I was arguing with her about this a lot where I was like, you have the right to be offended. You can be offended if you want. Mm-hmm. Like, that's fine. And you even have the right to freedom of speech to yell back. And I don't support doing that, but you have the right to do it. Mm-hmm. But just like you have those rights, Tony has the right to say what he said that offended you in the first place. Right. And as soon as she was like, well, no. And I was like, no, see, then that's where you're wrong now. Mm-hmm. You can be offended. You can yell back. You have all those rights, but then they have the right to say things that offend you.
Yeah, and then I think she even said to you, like, well, what if you came to a PhD lecture and you said that, it's not the same setting.
Yeah.
A lecture or a presentation for school is different than a comedy show.
Yeah.
So there's certain
context.
Yeah.
Which people like to ignore all the fucking time.
All the time. What is your writing process? How do you write?
I'm still trying to formulate it. So, at the beginning, so the class that's taught is taught by Tom Reel in Orange County. And one of the things he says, starts off with like, what's
Tom Reel, R-E-E-L?
Actually, R-I-E-H-L.
He's in show business. You missing an opportunity, dude. Change your fucking name. I was like, that's genius. I'm taking this class. But no, now I'm let down. I apologize for derailing
He's real. He's keeping it real. But, write from emotion, right? What are your fears? What do you hate? Things like that. But then after, again, fell back into the demons, the bad, having no process, not even writing every day. But then start kind of picking it up and actually talk to the comic Josh Jackson. And then just, we kind of keep in touch, and then he's been helping me out. But I got to, right now, my process is kind of like any topics that come to mind on a daily basis. I use Evernote. So I create, like, let's say a note, and it'll be like today's 4/14/2019. And I'll just hit the, like numbers, like 1 through 10, 1 through 15, whatever topic. Like, it just, anything that has humor in it, I write it down. It doesn't have to be funny. It's just, okay, I think I see humor in this. So I might have 10 topics one day, might have 15 topics one day. I might get lazy, I have 1 or 2. And then at the end of the week, I try to see, all right, is any of this interesting or funny to me so I could bring up at a mic. So at a mic, most of the times it seems like I'm just half-assed, but I'm trying to see if something has legs. And if something has legs, like when I bring it to birth and there's some kind of laughs there, because I always think an open mic is the hardest place to get a laugh. Most people aren't paying attention. They're all comics. They don't care. They heard you, whatever. But if you get a couple of laughs, then I'm thinking there's something there. And then maybe I could start bringing, making that a joke, chiseling it away. Can I get tags on it? And then there's people like Kevin Davis was talking about. You have to write from emotion. What do you hate? What makes you happy? What do you love? What do you want to change? And go from there, because it's more organic. It's coming from inside versus you pulling topics from the air. So there's a lot of things, but I figured there's no one way, because everybody says whatever works for you. Like it always comes down to that. I'm like, whatever works for you. But you'd hear other comments like, oh, I only write when I'm inspired. Oh, I only write when whatever. But I think, though, we think we're comics, but we have to be writers first. We have to force ourselves to write, not when we're inspired. Just think about it. If you're inspired once a day, you're going to have 365 ideas at the end of the year. But if you force yourself to think of 10 ideas, that's 3,650 ideas to pull from. If you force yourself to inspire, to write 25 topics down, now you're really pushing it and evolving as a writer. Not that everything that you write is going to be funny, but now you're giving yourself more volume. Now you're exercising your mind. It's like when you work out, right? At the beginning you could only bench whatever, but you keep
like
at
8
it.
pounds.
Yeah, that's me. Like just the bar.
You can do the bar, dude. Weird flex, but okay.
But I think it's like that. So I'm still trying to find my process, but it's a mixture of that. Like trying to come up with topics, but at the same time trying to see if there's anything that comes from inside. And hopefully that's why I don't really have many jokes. It's just, it's hard. It's difficult, but I think we have to force ourselves to write when we don't want to.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. How would
yes, Your Honor. Yes.
How would you describe your voice, or what you found to be your voice so far? So like, let's say there's a person, you meet a random person and they don't know who you are,
right? And
they're like, "Who's Hector Lara? What is he like as a stand-up comedian?" How would you describe yourself?
I think ideally like to feel that I have a different perspective, but I think we all naturally do. I'm still trying to find that voice that who am I on stage, like, and what flavor am I? You look at certain comics, like you already know what to expect, right? It's like, oh, he's going to be this kind of comic. Jim Gaffigan, he's going to be this kind of comic. Brian Regan, he's this kind of comic. But I still don't know. I try to challenge myself in terms of I try not to curse in my sets. Just because not that I don't think it's fine. I curse outside of comedy. It's just F-bombs and C words. That's all I tell. And my daughter doesn't curse at all for some reason. She's at home. She hears the worst out of me, but she does not. She's a sweet little girl. Somehow she doesn't curse. Maybe at school, and I don't know.
Not while you're home.
Yeah, and she's little still, but she says, "Daddy, I know what you're gonna say." I'm like, "Oh, okay," but I don't know. I'm still trying to find what am I like. My sets, I talk about my family in pretty bad situations or bad perspective, but I think it's things that men go through or a guy goes through or thinks about but doesn't say or vocalize or verbalize in life. Like with my girl, like we're pretty open in terms of like, oh, look, there's a good looking girl over there. And she's like, yeah, she's not jealous in that way, but I'll bring it out where other people are like, oh, I can't say that in front of my girl because, they panic. But I let her know, like, look, this is what guys think. This is how our mind works. And same thing with situations with some of my jokes and on stage. Everything has been born from a truth, just that. So I don't know. I'm still trying to find the voice. I don't know my voice yet.
That's fair, dude. I've been doing this for like 6 years, and I still feel like I'm trying to find my voice, Because, I think, like you said, you're trying to find your unique flavor and stuff, but you'd never stop growing as a person, And I think it's, again, kind of chasing the dragon when you're finding your voice, that, like, there's that idea that, like, oh, you know what to expect. But at the same time, like, if Anthony Jeselnik gave us exactly the same thing every time, we wouldn't like him as much.
Right.
He's still got to grow, and he's still got to, like, become a person because you can't really escape that. And so, I don't know. I think you're on the right track, but you're good. Like, you're just doing it. I think that's the important thing.
So is it important to have that voice? I mean, everyone talks about it. You got to find your voice. Is that a combination of
I think
delivering
it's
jokes?
just a package of authenticity in sense, like, I can't, if you go out one night to go see Aaron Chase, you're only going to get Aaron Chase from Aaron Chase. Like, people can take his jokes, but you're not going to have the authentic Aaron Chase thing, and if he takes from someone else, that's not going to be Aaron Chase.
Right.
So I think it's just being authentic and trying to be vulnerable enough to be your true self on stage, which is difficult until you've been doing it, until you've grown, like, built this fucking jaded callus, this stage callus that nothing gets through anymore. Until you get to that point, it's very difficult to.
That's a good image. I like
to just chill.
Yeah.
To really express yourself because you're so concerned with This is such a fucking Asian reference, but there's a scene in The Last Samurai where Tom Cruise is like dueling some dude with a katana, another samurai,
right.
and he keeps getting his ass whooped. And his little friend, Asian dude who barely speak English, is like, too many mind. And he's like, what are you fucking talking about? He's like, too many mind, no mind. And he points to everyone around. And he keeps thinking about, like, how other people are judging him, how other things are affecting how their perception of him. And that because his mental juice, I guess, is focused on them, he can't focus on the sharp-ass death blade in front of him. And that he can't be present. He can't relax and let his body and his energy flow. And so, again, until you become this jaded fucking comic who basically hates it, it's hard to really express the art. So, authenticity, I guess, is my long-winded answer of how do you find your voice.
That's cool. I think that's a good way of putting it. I haven't looked at it like that before.
Well, I mean, there's also really good weed in California, so it's like... Bro.
Well, you did bring up Last Samurai, so that's pretty cool. Anytime someone can bring up Last Samurai to push their point. Yeah.
That movie made me mad because they're like,
everybody mad.
You really gonna give me the ending in the title for real? Really? All right, dude. What if it's not him? Yeah, the only white samurai. It's not gonna be. He's not gonna be the last one.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would have been interesting if he was the first one to go.
Yeah, they should have just offed him in the beginning. You're like, oh,
it's like, wow,
this is Into the Spider-Verse. I didn't see that shit coming. All right, who's the next samurai then? Fucking A.
I love, this is my favorite question of this podcast, so I think you already know what it is, which is,
are you pro or con incest?
yeah, which
I'm
one,
just
which one,
kidding.
which one I need to know? No. Within the IE or just comedians that obviously not famous comedians, is there anybody that you look up to, you feel like is just really, really good and you like their style, or just is underrated, is not getting the shine that they deserve?
Man, that's, I've heard you say that question in all your podcasts, and I always think about it as I'm listening.
And then he goes, George Farito.
Besides the
Dylan, and
it's hard because of the fact that the more that you go out and see everybody perform, you see everybody has a different style. You know, you got your Thor Lorgans, one-liner guys, right? You have your some of your refined comics, like I think like a Juan Cias, like Esmeralda Villalobos. And I bring those two up just because I never hear them throw away a set or stutter or like screw up. Like in terms of they go through their sets, boom, 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 boom. It might not get certain laughs sometimes or whatever, but there's like the certain level that they bring to the mics, to their sets, that's like, okay, like, all right, like if you're screwing around and you see that, I got to bring my level up. Like I can't throw this away. But there's so many comics and so many different styles that it's hard to answer that question. I'd love to give you a particular name, but I wish maybe Tony Ross would get up more. I love his style in terms of just like his character. I think we all do. And I think when you talk to comics outside of the circle and you say Tony Ross, everyone's like, oh yeah, Tony Ross. Like, but just because it feels like I haven't seen him. Again, it's one of those things like, oh, is he doing other mics, things like that? But I think if he went out more, I'd like to see him grow. I'd like to see everybody grow. I want to see everybody just destroy. Like, it's so cool that also that you guys put on a lot of this local and young talent on your shows. I think that's very, very, very important. I remember my first feature spot was Tom had like a reunion show. It was in November, this past November. And it was like 7-8 minutes, but the fact that it was not a mic, and at that point I was kind of going down a mental, like a downward spiral, you know, like when is this going to get better or whatever? Because, you know, we all have that, especially when we're starting out. We're all still starting out. But getting that opportunity to say jokes in front of an actual crowd and feel the laughs, it's like an injection. It's like a confidence booster. And we talked about this after the Ice House too. When we got the laughs, it was just this validation of like, you're not wasting your time up there. Two, you are funny, you know, and it just keeps you going. So I think what it does when you guys put the young talent on here on your shows, you're giving them that boost that they need along the way. Like if it's just open mics for like a year or 2 years, it's going to end in suicide. Like it's just because of just how bad there's nothing, you know, just you know how it is. I mean, but the fact that you guys have done that, and I appreciate what you guys do here for the scene in the OE. Like you know, there was like a lot of controversy online. People talking. I'm not going to get into that.
I already made a podcast about it.
Yeah, but if you're, let's say you guys didn't have the foothold you guys did have here, then how many mics? There would be that many less mics. That many less opportunities to try to perform, and we take it for granted. You know, we take it for granted that people that put on shows and mics, you know, we as the guys running around the circuit and doing the open mics, we're like, yeah, well, I'm just gonna go here this day, and I'm gonna go to OC here, and I'm gonna go to LA. It's easy for us, but when you guys right now are like, well, we got to be in Riverside Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and don't get the same opportunities that other people get. We take that for granted. But at the same time, you guys are able to see the talent that's coming through. And then you guys, and I think you guys, though, the big thing is just giving the people the chance, even a 5-minute spot, a 10-minute spot, especially the young talent that's coming out. I think it does a lot for, at least it did for me, an opportunity. Just having that opportunity. And then they're going to, like I remember with Jay's first opportunity at Jay Calderon and at the Marquee last month. Yeah. He was, I mean, if you talk to him prior to that, he's like, I got to focus writing. I want to perform. I mean, there was a lot of pressure. And then now I'm like, that's good because I know he wants to do very well. And, you know, you're happy for that. You see him. we all want to do well, and so just seeing that in everybody, and I know everybody goes through that and puts the pressure on themselves. That's what you want to see as a peer, and at the same time you're happy and you're proud of them, and you just I root for everyone's success, and I want everybody to just blow up, and because it's like the saying, and I repeated it to a few people already, but it's like the saying is. A true master is not the one with the most followers. It's the one that creates the most masters, right? So
I've never heard that.
Yeah,
I fucking love that. I'm gonna get that tattooed on my dick.
Can you say it again? What is it?
You can look it up. It's like a true master, something like this. A true master is not the one with the most followers. It's the one that creates the most masters. And then I brought that up to Stephen Roth.
That's why I'm here. I just found the reason for my life.
That's badass. Yeah.
And I mentioned that to Stephen Roth, and he does jiu-jitsu. And he's like, yeah. He goes, we were talking about that philosophy, and he goes, yeah, iron sharpens iron, and I like that a lot. And I think that's what at least my philosophy is, and everybody should be working to improve everybody. Like, this is what I know, and this is here. If you can use this for my experience,
absolutely.
But I think what you guys have put, like just the shows and putting on, like Chica Rock, she's great. I love, and you know what's funny? Like, you talk to her, it's like she's really down on herself, but just like, no, you're good. Like, you're just, yes, amazing. And Carlos Patino on there, just Jay, just all the names that we come across and then also bringing flavors from other areas, from like the OC and LA, stuff like that. It's just cool. Like, you had Evan Cassidy, right? Was he?
He didn't show up.
Okay, but but whatever.
Yeah.
He was on Jacob Trimmer. You had Michael Zallet. So people that are big in other scenes coming here, and then them performing on the same ticket. Again, and by they mean someone that hasn't been doing it as long, but and they're able to shine. I think that just does a lot. It does. It's just a confidence booster. So.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. That drama. I did address all of it on an ACMM.
Are you plugging your podcast on this podcast?
Yeah,
now?
I'm plugging ACMM on Buddycast. But so if you ever want, whenever we're able to figure out how to send it, because it's 30 minutes long, it's way longer.
Yeah, when he offloads it off his laptop's gonna be lighter.
Right. So whenever that's out, you can hear the details of that. But it's appreciated. It is exhausting sometimes. So anytime someone's like, "Thank you for doing it," it's appreciated.
Yeah. Where was your first time, Aaron?
My first.
Your first featured spot. Like, hey, man.
The first time I ever got booked was the first time I ever got paid, and it was bad. I was in San Diego at the time, and I was doing it periodically. I don't know how I got booked for this. I was with another comedian. I just went along for the ride, and we came out to San Bernardino, and I'm pretty sure, if I remember it correctly, it was Anthony Stone who was the first person that booked me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and God damn, it was embarrassing. I got on stage, and there was maybe like 3 or 4, maybe 5 people, and they were all black, which was worse for me. And I think I started off. Jesus, I said like something about 500 Days of Summer, and it was like, this is not the demographic for that. And
Ain't nobody here watch that movie.
And as soon as I said that, and I didn't get a laugh, I wasn't used to being on stage. I didn't know how to just say, okay, I guess we'll keep going. Immediately, I shut down. I was like, oh no, and then I got heckled. Heckled, and it was terrible. And I'm pretty sure it was Anthony Stone, but if it wasn't, it was someone like him.
Right.
And I remember I was begrudgingly given $20, and I had a very little.
It's the one where he's handing it to you, pull it, but he's still holding on.
He just gave you 2 rolls of quarters, just like, here, bitch, get out.
He threw them at him.
He did it in secret. He didn't want people to see. Understand? It was so. Oh, it was terrible.
I don't want anyone to know I pay for this shit.
Oh, it was so fucking embarrassing. And then, you know what you were saying about like putting it off? I know that feel, because I would do it periodically. And so every time I went to a mic, it was like, this is the most important thing. I was treating it like it was the night at the Apollo, because I never went up. And so you never get comfortable. And so yeah, man, that was the first time that I can remember that I got booked, and it was fucking embarrassing.
All right. What about the time where it actually went well?
When it went well, I remember the first time I was at Ace's Comedy Club.
Okay, that was like Temecula or something, right?
Mm-hmm. It got shut down, and then it became 3rd Street, and that got shut down, and I think they're trying to do something with it. But I remember, what was Dewey Bratcher? So he's a comic in San Diego. I don't know if he still does it or not very consistently, but he's in San Diego, and he was like half mentor for me. Like he saw me trying to grind it out while I was in school, and I think he just appreciated. So he would help me out a little bit. And I was opening for the show there, and it was the biggest show I had done at that point. And there was this heckler in the very beginning, and he was host. So he went up and he was dealing with a heckler, and he shut her down immediately because he knew that there's no way I was going to be able to handle it, which is appreciated. And at that point, that was the best set I had ever done. It was so cool.
How did you feel?
Amazing. Like, it felt like, oh, I can do this. Don't get me wrong. If I looked back and I think about, I didn't have it recorded or anything, but when I think about the jokes, it was terrible.
Right. But the feeling though of like it's not an open mic. Like I asked when I did Paul Antonio's show at IDKYE in November. It was actually that month, so that was my second time getting booked. And there was I think there was about 28 people in the crowd that came for me, and so it felt like home field advantage. But just again, it was, you think it's going to be like the night of the Apollo. It's the HBO special, and I think it's a good feeling for people to have that pressure to put. It's open mic. It's like, okay, I'm just going to do an open mic, but when it's go time, it does something, and then to feel the laughs, it's weird. I know a lot of people, when they listen to this, like, yeah, you're a comic, of course you get laughs, but when you're like, and you put it, I remember asking your advice, George. You and Juan Cias were outside of Worthington, and then
you must have bombed if you took my advice.
No, you put something in perspective that a lot of people don't get with the open mics. But you said the open mics are like running with weights on, and then so when you do a show, it's just easy. And I really try to take that in, and then so after I did O'Donovan's, which was so much fun, I really got the gist of that. Like it felt like, okay, I really get it. And it's just because you have to battle all the self-doubt that fills in between the open mics and the shows, but as you do more and more shows and you become more refined and there's just more confidence. So what I always think about it, it's like like a comic's journey is like Zelda or Zelda 2, like the Nintendo. You start off with like 3 hearts and a stupid little wooden sword, but as you go, you gain a little bit more experience. As you go to other areas, you meet new things and different levels, and it's just your life is like a quest game, and your comedic life, and it's just, I don't know, it's interesting. I mean, it's weird because at least me not getting paid for it, spending so much time and away from family, that's a big sacrifice, and I appreciate my girl, my daughter, just because that's time away from them, But the fact that we're back after so many defeats and defeat to get that one win, like the Ice House felt, it's just this weird, like nobody else would follow that business plan, But here we are.
Are there any because we were talking about mics and the difference, are there any pet peeves about open mics in general that you feel? Like how they're run in general?
The only thing is when the host does too much material in between and doesn't keep it
I love
flowing.
that you made eye contact with Aaron.
I did. I fucked that up recently at the Hideaway, yeah.
No, but I haven't seen you go over it. There's people that sit there and do like 5 minutes in between.
Yeah, for real. I went to a mic. I'm not going to name names. I'd love to. You talk to me after the show. But there was an open mic, and they were co-hosting, but one host did maybe the first 5. The second host was going to finish out the show. And during that transition, the first host, great job. Love the dude. It was a dude. Second host, I didn't really know as much or as well, but he straight up did 22 minutes. And that's as
At
much
an
time
open mic?
at an open mic, and that's as much time as I stayed there. So I don't know how much more time he did. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I wanted to see the next person go up and then bounce, you know. But he did 22 minutes, and I took off. So there's a chance he's still doing his set right now. But
Legend has it.
yeah, like, what are you doing? Like, go to a show. What do you?
Yeah.
Don't just hold these people hostage.
Yeah.
I think that, and I think that's what I feel like. I have some pride in this. I was talking with KJ about this, and he was saying, like, you know, you should be proud of what you do, and you need confidence in it. So I'm working on that. So this is me working on that. Shouts out to KJ.
He's funny.
He's really fucking funny. But the quality of the open mic, I feel like we treat it like it's a show, and I think that's what makes it better.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. I think I'm sure I've said this 1.5 million times, but the dynamic between George is like, you know, I grew up in theater, so in my head it's like, no, we're treating every open mic as if it's a packed theater show. That's just how you, and then it'll be, if you treat it like a theater show, then the audience will respect it like a theater show and not look at it as just a bunch of dudes talking in a microphone. And then George makes it, the practical part of it, happen. So I feel like the way we run our mics is of quality.
Yeah, and I think, and more importantly, I think how the individual comics approach to these mics. So if you're like, oh, it's just an open mic, so I'm going to go fuck off and fuck around, your level of, your mentality, your perspective on it, it's going to affect it, and it's just going to come across like that.
Yeah.
But if you treat every single performance as like, okay, like you said, I'm at the Apollo, I'm doing my special, and you go and give your best. Now, when it's time to perform at a real show, you have that practice in you. You don't have to like gear up to it. Like you've already been practicing doing your best. Like in sports, if you treat every game like if it was a playoff game, you're gonna go for it every single time. You're not gonna leave anything on it.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're just going like, this is just practice, then it's going to be as such.
And that vibe, I think, dictates the scene too. So like, it's finally starting to stop. Where I would talk about how it would get frustrating when a comic would get on stage and say, I don't have any material, I'm just fucking around. And now, because all the other the scene here, at least with our mics, is like, we're working right now, and it's fun, but we're working. That now what it does is all these other comics are putting an effort. So then the comics that do show up that are like, they're like, oh, I'm gonna look like an asshole if I just come up here.
Yeah, and I think that's important. And I think again that's important for you guys to put that talent on that you do, because it's not just like you have to wait for a show. Like we're raising the bar here. If you're gonna put in work, you're gonna be featured, and it's like it forces you to improve. Like you don't want to be left behind. If you're really being serious about your career, you're not going to want to be left behind. So it's going to force you to do, okay, I can't be wasting time. I can't be doing this. I got to put in work. That's why it's important. Like we were talking about this before the podcast. I think it's important to also become a member of the comedy community. Go reach out to somebody, say hello. When you walk into an open mic, say what's up to all the comics. Say what's up. When go to the OC, go to LA, go to Pomona. There's so many good comics, so many good people out there that are grinding just as much, and you lose an opportunity for yourself, for your own progress, if you don't go meet these people. Not that these people are going to sit there and give you a lecture on things, but just you see the community, like, and you say what's up, or you have a question. People are more than happy to help you out. At least they have been for me. And I give a lot of credit to the community for getting me to where I'm at this point. Yeah. Not that I'm anywhere, I'm just at the bottom rung, you know. But in terms of helping my perspective, like appreciating this journey, this process, because if you don't look at it like that, if you're always comparing yourself to like, man, why is George Friedel? He's doing all these things, and why am I not there?
No one's saying that. Nobody's saying that. I guarantee.
but as an example, you know, if you start, especially with like Facebook and Instagram, you see people posting whatever they're doing, and you consider them a peer, and you're like, well, how come he's doing that, not me, or she's doing this, not me? Who cares? Like it takes a lot of practice not to be human and not compare yourself. but you should practice just appreciating your own process so that, like, your only enemy is yourself, you know, and whatever you're doing affects you. What somebody else is not affecting you. But I think, too, and one thing I did want to bring up is, you know, one thing I didn't do in my real estate career that maybe I'm going to do now after starting comedy. But it's important for every comic that's out there that's serious, I think, to set up a business plan. I think we're just like in the wind, just flailing in the wind. But if you put in some kind of the plan where you're saying, like, okay, this week, you know, weekly, I'm going to hit this target of, and it's harder to implement because you're talking from a guy that's never done it, you know? But if you implement your weekly goals, your monthly goals, your yearly goals, things like that, I think it's going to give you a little bit of structure that you wouldn't otherwise have. Like right now, like before, I would be like, oh, well, I just got to get out and do mics. But I don't have a structure to support that in terms of why am I getting out to do mics? What am I putting at the mics? You know, you have to have a structure from your writing, from your time management. And that's the hardest thing because you're talking from a person that has the worst habits. Mm-hmm. But I think like in another universe where there's like the perfect Hector, he has his business plan of like, okay, today, hour 1, I'm going to do edits to my current jokes. I'm going to do tags, and then I'm going to create new stuff in this hour, and then I'm going to rehearse for another hour. And then tonight I'm going to have my open mic, and I'm going to do this. Boom. So now there's at least, even if you deviate from that, you have some kind of structure so that by the end of the week, you're like, you know what? I accomplished something.
Right.
Versus like, well, I did 3 open mics. Yeah, but what? Like, why? Who cares? You know, not who cares to anybody else, but for yourself. Like, what did you accomplish? Did you meet your weekly goal? And then it has to be from networking to your writing to performing to marketing to everything. Like, we are a business. And right now, a lot of us are treating it like, oh, well, I'm just trying it out. No, start now. Start branding now because, like, I remember we did a mic 2-3 weeks ago. Like a month ago at the IE comedy something. It was like in Fontana. Like he sets it up at different places. And Justin Harper was there. Dominic Zappia was there. Stephen Roth. He had a set and he just killed it, right? There was a good little crowd, but at the end of the comedy night, this couple was leaving, but they stopped and they said, you know, we really enjoyed your set. And they just complimented Stephen. And his set resonated with them. But I tell you, Steven, man, did you get him to follow you? And he's like, no, I didn't think about that. Like, I think that's a lost opportunity for a fan. And if he would have had some kind of even marketing, like, even of like, hey, look, here's like a sticker or something that I have. Follow me and give it out. Like, if we start implementing some kind of business plan for ourselves and branding ourselves, I think it's going to help us in the long run to just grow, just get that fan base. Because we also have to establish that there's so many things that are required for us to, because we're going to get to a point where we're like, oh, being featured, how many people are you bringing? You know, how many people can you bring? And sometimes that might help you get shows versus like somebody that can't put seats in the, you know, butts in the seats.
I have 2 things I wrote down because I didn't want to forget. So I'll bring up both of them, and you can pick and choose which one you want to talk about first. First one is, you're talking about our scene and coming in and saying hi. There is one complaint I have personally about our scene, and that is we are pretty fucking weak and sensitive. Like, we were talking about roasting and going back and forth. It feels like our scene doesn't do that, and we're almost afraid of it. And the second thing is, the way you just described all of that, it was really business-oriented and intelligent and compartmentalized. And have you always been that way, or was there a change? Was there a moment that you were like, oh, I need to organize myself?
So going back, starting with the second question. So being a realtor, that's what they practice and preach.
Gotcha.
But I did none of it.
So you weren't a realtor, you were a fakter?
Fakter, yeah.
Sorry, I was sitting on that for like an hour.
Yeah, like, that's cool.
All right, I can relax now. We're good.
Anything else, George?
It'll come up.
Mr. Samurai? No, so that's the thing. And so that's why I think I've struggled with real estate. Like when I have my clients, I represent the hell out of them and I do a great job for them. But was I killing it out there and just blowing up in hundreds of thousands of dollars in income? No. And like whoever hears this is going to be like, what? Like, yeah, no. But now I'm looking, now that I started comedy, I said, I don't want to have those same results from my habits. So now I'm looking at it more structured, and it's just kind of weird where why wasn't I looking at my real estate business like that? Why am I looking at comedy like that? But maybe it has to do with the fact that
Passion.
I'm not
Definitely
passion.
passion. Absolutely.
And so now I think it has to be that. But I think also I'm going to start creating a business plan for my real estate. So it's weird. Comedy is actually going to inspire my real estate and hopefully both grow. But I have not always been like that, to answer your question. But I think now looking at it, all the facets of being a success. No, I don't want to say that word. Just helping yourself as a comedian, as a business, from the business perspective, grow. You have to have that because there's so many things to it. Again, writing, performing, networking, marketing. Like unless I'm missing something else, those are the big four, and time management, I guess, and family. But yeah, you have to. I think that's something that we don't do. And I think if we were talking about this prior to the podcast, if we had like, okay, we're going to do an open mic, but afterwards we're going to hang out for like another 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, so that all the comics can just sit there. And how much fun is it when you hang out afterwards? Like, it's just, when it's comics talking to comics, it's just a different conversation. You know what I mean? It's like open roasting on each other, making fun. Or like after that incident when Tony Ross caused that
Which one?
The one when the girl turned the tables, which was pretty fun.
Geez, yeah.
But after that, we were hanging out. I think you, me, and Alfred were doing the most talking, but everyone just standing listening. And even if you're just listening to other people's perspectives, you don't know. It's like in school. You might have questions, but sometimes there's somebody that's the student that's asking the questions, and they'll ask a question that you were thinking of. Sometimes it's hard for people to just ask a question, whether you're introverted, not used to speaking like that, or embarrassed or whatever. So whenever you're sitting there in a community setting or just hanging out, and maybe like a topic comes up or someone has a question, they'll feel more comfortable, and it'll help or aid in their development. And at the same time, maybe you guys, like as bookers and producers, hey, what's missing here? And, because I think there should be some kind of business element or business, some kind of some kind of, it's not seminar either, but there should be some kind of where that's emphasized too. Right now we're like, oh, you got to perform and you got to write. But there's also the important part of it is what's supporting all of that, and that's your structure. But I think that's why it's important. Like if there was more like, hey, we're hanging out afterwards, join us here. We're just going to shoot the shit, all of us. And that's just important.
Unless it's your first time, then fucking, stay in there. We don't accept you yet, all right? You got to at least go up twice. Otherwise, stay your ass home.
Yeah, there's a minimum requirement.
Sure, you ate dick one time. We did it 3 times this week.
We swallow them.
What are you doing?
And then I think that your first question about whether are we sensitive, I don't think so. I just think it's there's not that comfort level yet where people are able to, like, you say something to someone that you just known for a week or two.
Yeah.
You joke around with them, they might not respond as they normally would if they were a more comfortable setting. That's it. I don't think it's that they're more sensitive, because when you do talk to people, you do talk and clown around with the guys, the girls, everybody takes jokes. Like, it's just, and listen to their material. How could they not, right? But it's, I just think that if you have that, if you embrace community, try to make each other better, I think it just makes everybody feel more comfortable and that work environment. And it's just weird. There's some people that have philosophy like, it should just be cutthroat. I don't think so. It should be, let's improve each other. Like, this is a community. Like, why wouldn't you want everybody to succeed? But so no, I don't think it's people being sensitive.
It's just time to get to know each other.
It's absolutely, because once you do, you're gonna see their voices come out, and it's just fun.
Yeah, I know William Henderson. Jesus,
but that dude will ruin your life. Yeah, that's for real. And it'll be the first thing in the morning.
I like William. I just like how you just you think he's a certain type of personality, and he's really cool.
He's Will.
I enjoy Will very much. That's why we do the Game Boys podcast, and it releases every Wednesday and Saturday, guys. So check it out.
Copycat, bro.
One guy I didn't mention really quick, Alec Damani. Yeah. I love Alec. He's just one of the things when I first started is I just knew just the open mics, right? When you guys did the show at the Box, it was the first time to hear everybody in front of a live crowd, And the fact that everybody, I mean, just to see those laughs was just...
Damani lit that place on fire.
Yeah, and it was just fun. But it's just, he's approachable, he's cool, and he's funny. Like, I don't know. That's one of the guys, too, that I like in the IE. Sorry.
No, you're good. The getting to know, that's fair. Because the scene has kind of gone through a renaissance, I think, the IE.
Most people's scenes kind of just recycle people. So I think we're just doing that as well. You know, you're going to get a lot of new faces, and some are going to stick around.
Yeah. But you were talking about business. I'm curious, from a business perspective, from what you see, obviously you're not in the inner workings of how the buddy system works, but from your perspective of what you see, what do you think we could do in terms of business that would improve everything that we're doing? How can we make money?
If I knew how. I mean, you ask people, how do comedians get paid? How much do they get paid? Nobody seems to know the answer unless you're actually getting paid.
Well, we don't throw a number out. Otherwise, then we're committed to paying them that much. So y'all get paid stage times for now.
Yeah, I don't know as far as how the money business part of it works. But I, like anybody, I think when individually or as a business, I mean, the business is it's its own entity. Marketing, spreading the word, and then not only that, but quality shows. So if in order to put quality shows on, you got to have quality comics. But in order to have quality comics, you got to have
cultivate the talent.
Cultivate it, yeah.
You got to start at the bottom,
right? So it's like a farm system for like baseball team. But if you're not invested, so if you want to invest and grow your business and have it successful in the region, you have to invest in the comics in the region. Mm-hmm. And if you're not making sure they're growing properly, and by properly I don't mean your vision of successful, but meaning like, hey, there's going to be questions. They're just putting out there. There's going to be questions that you have, or sometimes you might feel alone and isolated, or hey, are we giving these people opportunity to shine? I think if you give people and individual comics that support, I think it's going to help feed to the next level where you're getting more quality. And also, I think it's important to tell people, get out of the IE. Yeah. Go somewhere else so you can see what other comics are doing, other areas are doing, what it's like there.
Yeah, and then you also find out that those comics haven't heard your jokes, and you can do old shit and crush.
Yes,
so
right.
It's like taking some of the weights off sometimes when you go out of your own home, and so it's more fun.
Yeah.
So... okay, so if I were to put that in my own words, basically do what we can to make sure that the comics are getting as good as possible.
Absolutely, and that goes back to the whole, like as Stephen Ross said, iron sharpening iron.
I completely agree.
Because otherwise, you don't want to be the best out of the biggest fish in a small pond. You want to. Who cares if you're the smallest fish? But if you're coming from the most famous pond, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's how you cultivate a scene. Like, man, the IE, the Riverside, that's where so-and-so came from, versus having a reputation.
What the fuck's in that water?
Yeah. So, but, it's a combination of things. I know everything's at kind of the beginning stages still, and you guys as a business are trying to find yourselves, but I mean, we are the at the same time, we are kind of the client in your eyes, because we're the one that helping put on the quality show. But if we don't have the quality, but there's so many people that have been doing it a long time, maybe tapping them for advice, or maybe let's have a talk, and what do you see? Getting their perspective.
They don't like us.
A lot of people don't seem to like us very much.
It's weird because like this whole business side of it wasn't intentional.
Yeah, it sort of happened.
We did it because it's like, if you want to ask people for money, it's difficult to be like, yeah, just write it to Aaron Chase. Nobody's gonna do that unless
except
you're
for
crazy.
Dave.
Yeah,
except for Dave. He keeps
Dave's
doing
more
that.
than willing to do it. It's great. But most people, there needs to be some sort of entry level, like, oh, this is a legit thing. So like, I think Aaron and I, like, we disagree on a lot, but I think the one thing that we always agree on is that, like, we're just here to try and make everybody else better, and so that we don't have to drive that far for stage.
So let me ask you guys, what are you guys, in your minds, what do you feel you guys are doing to help everybody? Besides providing, the stage and the opportunities, how are you cultivating the talent in the area?
This is going to be pretentious, but... talking after the show. I mean, every time and I know I talk a lot, but anytime fuck you. anytime there is somebody like, So, after the show, we're always hanging out in the parking lot and doing drugs.
So let me just jump in there. Sometimes I don't know you guys are hanging out. So
Really?
that's one of the reasons.
We are always hanging out.
No, but again, like I don't. Everyone just takes off. Like we're
shit.
still stuck in Worthington, stuck in someone, and then everyone's gone. Like I don't realize everyone's hanging out afterward.
wow.
So that's one of the things. Like
Honestly, I dip because, we've already been there for
Yeah,
so long.
yeah,
but
yeah.
at the same time, when you guys are all talking, I'm like, that must be important. So and then I just,
Look,
we end up by my car.
who wouldn't we want to be part of the party? Like
Okay.
that's, you know what I mean? So that's one of
yeah.
the things. Like, hey, if you guys, again, it depends on you guys. Like, hey, sometimes you're just tired. You want to get the hell out because
Yeah.
you guys have been there for 4 hours, and like, who would blame you? But if you are gonna hang, at least to say, hey, we're hanging out afterwards.
Okay.
At least that way you just tap somebody like, oh, okay, cool.
If you want me to tell you, everyone, don't be talking to a new person. I'm not going to say it in front of a new person. If it's their first time, they're not invited. Okay? Sorry.
So
you have to build rapport. You can't just show up. Rome wasn't built in a day.
All right, I'll keep that in mind in the future. I'll let you guys know when we're doing that because I actually didn't know. I figured everyone knew, like, oh yeah, because we always do. We always go to George's car and we talk.
You
That's
should
what
do
we
like
always
some
do.
secret sign, like there's like this
Oh,
nod.
you haven't seen it? All right, we'll show you.
I don't
We'll
know.
show you.
I'm not. In the,
Grab your dick with both hands. Hold it like a lightsaber.
that's
But in terms of what we do or what I think we do that's good is that every time we do that like when we were out there with Alfred,
yeah.
that was one of those times where it was like, oh, okay, so he is been doing this. He's very good at this, and he knows how to describe it. And so I think that's what we do to help the newer comics. Is we all hang out, and then whoever. What I love about comedy, it's a hierarchy in rank. If you're good at it, you're going to be the top dog. And in that situation, Alfred was the top dog, and he was giving all this information out. So I think that if we do that consistently, I think that's how we can help people.
Right.
I had a question.
But I'm gonna answer your question, but not really answer your question because, like, I don't necessarily, like, I have a very selfish reason for bringing and cultivating talent in this area, and it's so that I can get better. Like you said, iron sharpens iron. So, like, if I discover something or if I have a tip, I'm not gonna keep it to myself. I'm gonna be like, hey, we all have the same tools,
Right.
but that means I have to work that much harder to get better. And that if I'm better, then I'm be like, yeah, I'm just working harder than you. Like, you have everything that I have.
Right.
So there's no reason why we shouldn't be at the same level. And I suck. So we should be at the same level. And so it's like personal integrity, I guess. It's like, I want in the sense, like we say this a lot as a system that we treat every open mic like it's a show. I don't necessarily like that we say that. We do it, but it's like it is a show. Like you shouldn't treat it like it's a show. You're putting people on stage for someone's entertainment value. That's a show.
Right.
Like, so there's a standard that needs to be met, and I just think a lot of people aren't doing that. And whatever, no fault to them, but my work is a reflection of myself. So if I'm going to be a part of that, let's do our best to make it as best as we can.
Right. Right.
Who cares if it's a mic? Do the mic like it's a show. Like, do the mic, make the comics feel like it's a show. Then
Right.
you did great.
Demand excellence, basically,
Yeah.
from yourselves and from others. Like you said, if everybody has the same tools, the only thing that's going to differentiate everybody is the work that you put in.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's why people should never compare themselves with other people. Like, ego cares. And if somebody's blowing up, congratulate them.
Yeah,
Like,
that's good for you. They're gonna come back to your mic and then juice up your like. There's no
or
loss
whatever.
there.
Even if they never talk to you again, just be happy that like what they did or the process that they did is something that you can do as well. There's no secret to it.
I think you're sitting on. I disagree. I think you're sitting on the secret to success, and I think you realized it when you started doing comedy. I think that just setting goals for yourself and accomplishing those goals. Like a business plan is just a timeline for goals. It's you want a tangible number for a specific goal. It's like every week I want to get 5 followers. You can track that. You can reach that, and if you do that, you're implementing a strategy to get to that goal. And I think as a human being, I think we're wired to have like an endorphin release when you reach a goal. It builds, I don't know, I'm fucking barely 30. I think that's how you build confidence. I think that you make a goal and you accomplish it, and then you're like, oh, I did that. All right, that's the next one. And then you get more confident. And through that, you get better at any endeavor that you're doing. And And I think, again, I don't know, but I think we as animals like to master things.
Right.
We have this desire to get better at things, to sharpen our own steel. Like, and I think that's why like video games are so popular, because you're getting better at something in a short amount of time. Whereas like everything in real life takes way fucking longer.
Right.
But it's the same process of like, all right, here's an objective, reach that objective. Oh, I'm getting good at this. Next objective. And I think you do have the secret. It's implementing a success timeline and just following through. It's not a secret. I think it's work.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And comics are lazy.
Yeah, and I think, and there was another part that you brought up right there was, God damn it! It's one of those ideas. It's leaving my head. Don't leave.
Do you want me to ask my question?
Yes, your question. Yeah.
Okay.
God damn! Why didn't I write it down?
will
There's a
be
pen and paper. Jesus.
Pen, paper, water. I'm ready. We're ready to go, guys. Keep your ideas.
Okay, this will be fun. So in regards to the drama post, I still like when people criticize what we do, because I feel like it gives another perspective of what people think and how can we improve. So I think that I would prefer the criticism be productive like the difference between you should try this versus you fucking suck.
Right.
Both of them are criticism. You can get something good out of both of them, but I would prefer the productive criticism. So I assume you'll be able to give this, but what is the worst part about the buddy system and our scene? What needs the most improvement?
And again, George Ferrito.
The most improvement. Okay, so you guys offer the platforms for us to work and perform. So that's not the weak part. You guys put on shows to feature people and showcase people. That's not weak part. I think the only thing is just the weak part. That I guess it would just be letting people know, not that you don't already, but just, hey, just saying that this is a community and you're part of it. But in that, we're striving to become better. And in striving to become better, it's not like I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass all the time. Hey, Aaron, great set. And we all do that.
Yeah.
I personally, when I see a comic, I won't. If it's like a friend or something like that, it's like, hey, good set, whatever. But I like to say something in particular that I like, the particular joke, so that they know that it resonated with me. Or like, hey, I like that you at least tried this. So it's not some kind of false hope, false thing. But I think let's say if you guys are going to have a weakness, if it's just letting people know that, hey, we are available here to hang as a community, but we're also striving to become better, and let's all help each other. I don't see a weakness yet. I'm probably gonna have to answer that question like down the road.
In the DMs.
Well, I think I understand. So I'll try to put it in my own words. That's not good. I'll try to put that in my own words. Basically, like not glad handing each other. Like when someone does poorly, we need to let them know that information.
In a way, see, I think that's part of
we should print bomb stickers and slap them on people at the end of the show.
So that also could come across as like, well, what the F do you know? I think if once the relationships are to a point where we can openly, when people can receive criticism. Not from a point where like, hey, I know better than you and I don't think you're funny, but in the sense where like, look, we're coming from like, hey, I don't think this resonated, but this is why. So we have to be able to communicate it properly, and we have to feel comfortable receiving that criticism, so it doesn't come across as like, well, F that guy, what the hell does he know, right? He's just done it, because people get defensive. Anybody naturally gets defensive, right? Because this is our jokes are our babies, right? Nobody likes our babies being critiqued. I think
I got ugly babies. I know that. It's fine. I got plenty, but they're ugly. Whatever.
I think I don't think that's necessarily a business fault. I just think that's just what we need to cultivate as far as part of growing. If you can't take criticism, if you think you're good all the time, just because you think you are, no. But if there's a way that we could provide criticism, and a lot of people have spoken on this, it's not, don't just high five, hey, you did great. hey, this is what I think happened today. This is what I think. But if it comes from like, I think instead of this is what you should do, I think that's different. Because now it's kind of like a soft recommendation versus a hard recommendation. Maybe it'll be absorbed a little bit easier. Again, I don't know, because I can take criticism and I'm fine with it. But there's some people that have different...
Sensitive.
Yeah. But I think as a system, I don't necessarily think there's a weakness. It's just,
we're still in its infancy.
I think so. Growing. But I think, I don't know. What do you think are your weaknesses?
I think I don't know. I'm trying not to be negative. I'm going through this personal journey. I've been juicing, and I think it's not a weakness, but our next goal is to just be able to pay more comics to get a money flow. Not necessarily for us, but like, I don't like having to ask comics to come out and have nothing for them.
Okay. So, weakness there. From the shows that you guys put on, let's just say percentages. What is the average percentage of from the capacity of seats to actual filled seats? Is it like, are you guys at 75%, at 100% capacity as far as the crowd? Is it only about 25 people come in? Like 25% of seats are filled when we do shows. Like what would you say is your average?
In a number? Oh, so
just in general, like, there's a 50-person capacity today. We probably had like 30, so that would be like over 50%, right? So
I think we would max out at like a high percentage of stuff hits, like in terms of our mics. Most of them fill up pretty well, but whether they stay filled up or not is a different story.
So your actual shows, though, as far as the audience.
Oh, the audience show up? Again, it depends on the whole journey of where it is and how. Because, okay, so if we went with like our box show last year, that was, in terms of capacity, over 100%.
Right.
We had to bring out chairs.
Right.
But, for our Galentine's show, we only brought out maybe 30 chairs, but 80% of them were filled. Okay. So, like, in terms of percentages, like 80, we put on good shows. Weak shows, at least 50. I don't think we've ever had a show where nobody showed up.
Right.
So not zero.
Okay. So I guess going back to Aaron's question, maybe. So like with any business, right? Where it just comes down to marketing, and just getting your word out. So it's like, hey, and I've noticed you guys have been doing a lot more. But the thing is, like, for instance, like with real estate. So there's the door knockers, right? So like, oh, I'm going to go canvass an area. So you think about one real estate agent is going to go into a neighborhood of 200 houses. And he's going to spend 8 hours door knocking to hit 200 homes that may or may not be interested in buying or selling, right?
Right.
But what there used to be, like, we used to have the penny saver, right? We would put an ad in, spend $100, and the readership was about 30,000. So there'd be 30,000 deliveries, and we would get maybe 25, 30 calls. So the internet is kind of like the way to kind of advertise, like, because that periodicals are gone,
right?
But like, so, and I think this is from individual to business. It's how do we get the word out? How do we grow as a business marketing? How are people going to know the Buddy system? How are people going to know Hector Lara in terms of a comic and to follow him if they don't see or they don't know he exists? Nobody knows I exist outside of my friends, family, and anyone on either Facebook or Instagram. Nobody knows I exist, and there's millions of people out here. So I think that's the key, and that's the problem that all businesses face. Like, how do we let the population know we exist so that they can come use our product? And it's not necessarily a weakness of the Buddy. It's just a business thing. Like, why does Pepsi and Coca-Cola continue to advertise? There's just this need because people forget. People just, it's not that they don't know it exists, but it's out of sight, out of mind. And that's in real estate. I've had that a lot where it's like I'll run into a friend. Oh, I sold my house. I'm like, hey, what happened? How come you didn't call me? Oh, I forgot. But I've known you for so long. But people forget. It's out of sight, out of mind. So you have to increase. You have to create the following. You have to expand so that people know you exist, and then you have to continue the marketing. But it's easy with Instagram. It's easy with Facebook once you have them there. So, but how do we get the numbers, the masses, and I think, like I said, it's not a weakness of reflection of you. It's on anyone putting on a show. How do we fill up the seats? And I think that's I think that as individuals and as a business, I think that's that's going to be the next thing to conquer. You know?
I agree. And it's unfortunate because, like, we are very grassroots and, like, we're trying to cultivate talent. So it's like we're kind of at the mercy of the promotion skills of the comedians. Like right now our primary goal is to offer a stage to talent to develop their talent so that they can develop a following. And as they perform and do things, their following will follow them, And so it's hard because we want to put on local talent too. But if that perfect comedian for that show only brings 2 people, like in a sense, like I hate bringer shows, but every show's a bringer show. Like it's not necessarily a money thing. It's a follow thing. Like, okay, you can only promote to that many people. How does that help either of us? So it's a give and take, I guess. We do kind of rely on it, but at the same time, like I've tried, like even for our shows, we've written press releases, we've done radio work. Like it's just difficult to do all that with such a small operation, I guess, which is why I'm thankful for people like Chica and Steph and Jonathan. Even like, Jonathan and I went on Arts Walk. We walked around for 2.5 hours, just saying hi, handing out flyers. I'm not handing out flyers because you can't do that in Riverside, but we were holding papers with information on them, and people were reading them and taking them. So we weren't handing out flyers, but it's tough, I guess. It's the footwork, it's the legwork that makes that hurdle so difficult, I think, for anyone, because we have the ability to have other people kind of promote for our brand as well. But if you're a comic, it's all on you. You're kind of wearing all the hats.
Yeah. I think another thing that people don't take advantage of on social media is the fact that, like right now, let's just say I have 200 followers, mostly all comics, right? But if I have a performance or a show, just for instance, last night it was a performance in Coachella, and from my posting, Jackson Lind, you've seen him perform, really funny, but he's like, hey, I'm working in the area. He showed up, so okay, so people notice. So what if there was this shared perspective or philosophy of like, hey, let's help everybody grow. Man, why can't I tap my OC colleagues? Why can't I tap my LA colleagues? Hey, I have this show coming up. Would you guys mind blasting it on your social media? Cool.
I've told people that. I'm like, dude, just tag me in the flyer and be like, hey, can you push this up, add it to the story?
But I think that has to be more of a concerted effort to try to get that because now you're taking advantage of their followers. And somebody shares that, you never know. It just takes that one share. It gets shared 10 times. 10 people go to your show that you wouldn't have had otherwise. And it's just this weird. And right now it's just small, but it can grow exponentially, And I don't see that happening as much. And I think maybe that's something behind the scenes that we each have to try to do. I think
that's just show business.
Yeah. But I think but you have to break the mold. Like if you just say, oh, well, that's just show business. That's just how it is. Screw how it is. It's like if you look at the congresswoman from New York, Cortez, and how like she's on the news a lot, and how she's kind of breaking the mold, just being even like to a Democratic Congress, they have the majority. She's still kind of speaking outside of what the majority wants. The fact that she's trying to break the mold is great because of the fact that, like, we're not going to keep it business as usual just because we got the power back in the House. I'm still going to try to present the truths and stuff like that. So I think if you screw the norms, I'm just going to try to create this new path.
Right.
You might create a new path, and that becomes the norm. Like, I don't know. Again, it's easier said than done, but at this point, it's like kind of guerrilla warfare. You have to try anything and everything. And like I said, most people I come across out there in the comedy world are cool as hell. Everyone's going into the same thing. Everybody has a story about why they have their mic there. And we just went, Nick, Lenny, and I, we went to Harpin and Center Field, just, kind of catching up with the comics out there. And Rafael de Camargo from Center Field, he was telling us his story of how he started. And it's cool. It reminded me of Juan Ciaz with the Marquis. And there's just it's the same all around. So, and it's the same. Everybody wants everyone to succeed, and you get that. So, you know what? Screw it. Reach out to 100 comics out there. That's 2,000 plus followers that you might get for your show, or a share or two extra. I don't know. Right? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm gonna brand myself pretty soon, and I'm gonna try that, and who knows, So, yeah. Anyways,
no, I agree about that. I think it's a personal integrity thing where, like, I'll use one of our shows as an example, just a general one. Like, if we make a flyer and we tag you in it, and like, just repost it. Like, it's super simple. I shouldn't have to tell you to repost it. You're a grown up. If it's beneficial for both of us if you repost it. And so in that sense, from like a production standpoint, when the show's happening, just, follow everyone on the lineup, repost their shit and just do it. Like, lead by example almost. Right. And so that's what I try to do. Mm-hmm. I'm terrible on my own Instagram. If it's not me climbing shit, then it probably doesn't go up. But yeah, I don't know. I try to help with graphics. I've let everyone know, like, hey man, if you have a show, let me know. We'll mock up a flyer, because I think it just steps up the level of professionalism.
Right.
Like, yeah, sure, you're just an open micer, but the two people that don't know you don't have to know that. Right. Pretend like you've been there before.
Right.
So I that's just how I operate in general. Keep quiet, carry a big stick.
Really, thanks for that Ice House flyer. That was like a special one.
I'm glad everyone thought so. Legit, I put it together on my phone. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I was like, there's no reason for me to not make this flyer and push it out. Like, half the lineup are people I consider friends.
Yeah.
Like, so let's fucking do this. And it was a great show. You guys missed out. It was sold the fuck out. They turned so many people away. It was amazing to watch. It was great. Aaron's dad came out. He does exist, allegedly. I didn't see him.
I did. I got to meet him. There is proof. There's a witness.
Is there a picture?
I didn't.
No pics.
Picture didn't happen.
We missed out. We didn't take that group picture after, man. Next time.
That's all right. Yeah. All right, guys.
Are there any shows that you got coming up?
I'm probably going to put this out pretty soon, so...
well, tonight at the Ridicule show in Corona with Ricky Rick.
Nice.
And on the 27th, with Oso Comedy in La Habra on the 27th. And then after that, Flappers on the 3rd. And after that, just grinding at the open mics is just, that's how it is.
Dope. You're like, I'm here, but 3, 4, 5 times a week, I am in downtown Riverside.
Right. Right. Just, it's rinse, perform, repeat, pretty much. So. You know how it is.
Basically. Aaron Chase, where you at?
Tonight I'm at some sort of punk rock show, which
I'm
I'm terrified of.
You're going, what's it, Incorporated?
I don't know. I really don't. Like, I'm genuinely have no idea what I'm walking into. But
stay strapped, homie.
I know, right? But we're doing, you and I are doing the Ice House on August 25th. If you guys want to check that, it's plenty of time.
Dope. I'm doing a comic book store in Upland on June 10th, I believe.
Oh, that's dope.
And then I'm going to be at the Ice House on June 23rd, and then again on August 25th. But yeah, if you guys want to watch me, again, 3-4 times a week, downtown Riverside, bombing my fucking dick off. But having a good time. And hanging out afterwards. I really just go to Mike's to hang out with comics, even if it's for like a half an hour after the show. Swap stories, share tools and tips. Yeah. Instagrams, guys, where you at? Where can we reach you? Where can we find you?
Rated H for comedy. Rated H for comedy.
Aaron Chase 91.
And I'm at the George F. We are at the Buddy System CO. Check us out and check out the other podcasts. All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.